They walked with him, they ate with him, they witnessed miracles, felt the shock of crucifixion, and saw the risen Christ with their own eyes. But what happened to them after the resurrection? What became of the 12 men who carried the gospel into the world? This is the story of faith, fire, and martyrdom, the fate of the disciples of Jesus. Jesus told them, "Go into all the world and make disciples of all nations." So they did. From Jerusalem, they scattered across the Roman Empire to Greece, Turkey, Persia, India, and even distant Ethiopia. But in a world ruled by emperors and pagan kings, preaching Jesus was rebellion, and rebellion was punished with death. Peter. In Rome, Peter was sentenced to death under Emperor Nero. He refused to be crucified like his Lord, asking to die upside down. The Romans granted his wish. He hung inverted on a cross, his head toward the earth, as a final act of humility. Centuries later, St. Peter's Basilica was built on what is believed to be the site of his tomb. Andrew. In Greece, Andrew was tied to an X-shaped cross. For 2 days, he preached to passers-by while slowly dying. His voice echoed across the coast until it faded with the wind. James, son of Zebedee, the first apostle to be killed, beheaded in Jerusalem by order of King Herod Agrippa. A Roman guard, moved by James's courage, chose to die beside him. John was the only one who wasn't martyred. They tried deboiling him in oil, but he survived. He was exiled to the island of Patmos, where he received visions that became the book of Revelation. He died of old age in Ephesus. Philip. In the city of Hierapolis, Philip converted the wife of a Roman official. Her husband had him crucified. Even as he hung, Philip continued preaching until he could no longer speak. Bartholomew, also called Nathanael. In Armenia, his message of Christ threatened the power of the priestly class. He was seized and sentenced to a torturous death. Stripped of his garments and then of his skin, he endured unspeakable agony, but never denied his faith. As the executioners delivered the final blow, beheading him, his spirit remained unbroken. He died preaching, and his name is remembered in whispers of courage and eternal conviction. Thomas journeyed far, to India. There he established one of the world's oldest Christian communities. But at a temple site, he was stabbed with spears by Hindu priests. Matthew, once a tax collector, was martyred in either Ethiopia or Persia. He was stabbed to death while preaching the gospel to a hostile crowd. James, son of Alphaeus, known as James the Just, he was beloved even by skeptics. But his message angered the Sanhedrin. He was thrown from the temple, then stoned. One man crushed his skull with a club as he prayed for his killers. Thaddaeus, also called Jude. In Persia, he was clubbed and axed to death by pagan priests. His blood stained a land that had never heard the gospel before. Though his words in Persia are lost to time, his voice still echoes where the gospel first touched the East. Simon the Zealot. Once a political revolutionary, Simon preached in Persia. He was killed brutally, some say sawn in half, a death as radical as his faith. Judas Iscariot. He betrayed Jesus for 30 silver coins. Then, crushed by guilt, he hanged himself. His body fell and burst open in a field bought with blood money. They were fishermen, tax collectors, zealots, and skeptics. But they became witnesses, martyrs, legends. They gave up their lives for the gospel, not for glory or riches, but for the truth they saw with their own eyes. They died in deserts, cities, and far-flung villages. But they did not die in vain. Because of them, the message of Jesus outlived emperors, kingdoms, and time itself. Their story is not one of death, but of faith, of courage that challenged the world, of ordinary men who carried an extraordinary message and changed history forever. This is the story of the 12. Follow Vita Antiqua to explore more of the ancient world and the roots of early Christianity.